Welcome to the Prospect Warehouse podcast. This is your host, Tim Kanak. You can find me on the X at Fantasy Ace Ball. And if you're watching, you already see him. It's my good buddy, Chris Welsh, back on the show with me. If you can find him on the X at Is It The Welsh. Of course, you can also find him over on In This League. You can find him on Prospect One. You can find him on Fantasy Pros and basically everywhere you go, or if you want to be very if you really want to find Welsh, just go to a Arizona Fall League game, hope you pick the right one, and look for him in the stands.
Well, come and hang out with me. I just say it all the time, like, if you see me, come and hang out. It definitely has not happened this year, by the way, but definitely happens a couple times a year, sometimes when I have my Prospect One hat on. But yeah, come and come and say what's up, come and hang out. You can literally find me. But you did say it's kind of like a what was it, Carmen Sandiego. Like, you're gonna have to figure out, you're gonna have to decipher through where I'm at, because I'm bouncing, baby. I'm bouncing to Angels today. Today I was at the Angels. Yesterday I was at the A's, East Side, West Side. I'm all over, man.
Yeah, and you've got all the parks next to you. For me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be in West Palm Beach or I'm going to be in Jupiter, because St. Lucie sucks. So maybe I'll go there once.
People were talking
like
about it, dude. People were out here. They were talking about, just like hanging around, and people were like, man, just like, Arizona's nothing like Florida. Like Florida, it's like you go 2 hours between parks. You got to pick one place, because people are talking about, like, you can go to 3 or 4. You could literally, like, go to a morning workout, and then you could go to a mid BP, and then they're now running mine. I mean, like, you could hit like 3 or 4 different teams, maybe even more, if you're really productive out here, and you can't do that where you're at.
No, I'm like, for me, I'm an hour away from 3 different teams. One of them I choose not to go to because the ballpark is so bad. Like, that ballpark is so hot all the time because it's like built into the earth. It's like a bunker. I don't know if that's like an ancient apocalypse ballpark. I think a meteor hit there like 12,000 years ago, and then they're like, this looks good, and then they just started to build a ballpark on it. But Jupiter or Palm Beach is where you'll find me. And have people started buying you stuff, Welsh? Do you get treated with with food and beverages when you're at these games and people see you?
Oh, I would love for people to buy me things. When games are going on, I have definitely been proposed drinks. That's not uncommon. I would say it's probably like a 50% rate on game, because right now it's just backfields. So someone would have to be go really out of their way. They'd be giving me, like, here's like a gold bar. Like, what are you going to give me on the backfield? There's nothing going on. But yeah, it's probably if someone recognizes me, it's a 50% rate of drink. I don't really drink anymore, so that wouldn't really work. So you could get me, like, some popcorn or something, but please bring me stuff. I'll take whatever you got. I'm welcome to all of it, as long as it's not, a punch in the face, but come and hang out.
Yeah. Don't want that. I was at a Yankees game last year, and it was a Yankees Cardinals spring training game. And I had like 3 different people buy me beers, and I definitely was like, okay, this is probably max. Like 3 ballpark beers. I think I bought one myself too before that. So I was on like 4. I'm like, all right, I can't, I gotta chill.
But, I respect the hustle of that, because usually it comes with someone will be like, oh, I gotta buy you a beer. And then, like, we look at my team and it's like, yep, that's the transaction. The best thing I think I got, someone did give me tickets to a game. And then I did get an offer for, like, I think it was like it was like, hey, you'll get you to a Suns game, bring your kid. And I never took them up on that, because I just forgot, like, things go on and they didn't remind me. But the best offer was probably like for me and my kid to go to like a Suns game. And then I think the actual one was like, oh, hey, I have good tickets to this game. And I'm like, sweet, that's awesome. But yeah, get sloshed and talk some teams. That's the American dream, baby.
Yeah, for real. All right. So we're going to talk about some second basemen here. And the way that we're going to run this podcast so that it's not 2 hours, like when I had Blessing on, I was like, oh, yeah, 30 outfielders. Okay, we could do that in an hour and a half. Yeah, right.
Nope.
So it's like 2 hours of listening. It is good content, but I don't want to do that to you, Welsh. So we're gonna start 20 through 16. I'm gonna name the guys, and then we each picked one guy that we want to talk about out of this crop here. And this is my rankings, not Welsh. So Welsh may have some of these guys ranked higher than me or lower than me, or whatever. So number 20, I've got Wyatt Sanford with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And number 19, I've got Andrew Salas, who is the guy that I want to talk about because I saw him a ton last year. And so he's going to be 18 this year, Welsh. And like, I don't know what the Marlins plan is for him, if he's going to be repeating A ball again. But I feel like everyone is just kind of like out on him. A lot of people were super in on him at the beginning of the year. I'm going to throw his little thing up here on the screen. If we can get that on there. Okay, it's lagging. There we go. Boom. So we got Andrew Salas on the screen if you're watching on YouTube or Xvision. And you could see his statistics. Pretty bad EVs. A 94.5 90th, a 100, a 109 Maxo is actually pretty solid for a 17-year-old. This kid was like literally 17 last year, like 17 in like 1 month or something like that when he debuted. So just super, super young. I think that's something that we have to remember with him. Because the contact rates were really good for someone that young. 76% contact, 84% zone, and most impressively, a 16% walk rate with a 24% K rate. Good defense. He played second base, shortstop, outfield. Just kind of like based on the team build, I think that even though he's big enough, like he's 6'2", 180, he's going to grow into power. So like he's big enough to play any of those spots. But for whatever reason, I think he's going to end up at second, just because of other guys that they have on the team. Kind of like makes sense from a roster construction standpoint, but they could always trade dudes and, whatever, move them around. But 39 steals too. So you got power, you got a good contact tool, you got good plate skills. It's just like the dude has not grown into power yet. So I think he's super underrated. And I kind of just wanted to highlight him here, that I think he's definitely a guy still worth watching. And I wouldn't just like X him off lists because he is like super, super young and was like really at an advanced place for his age. So, what do you think about Salas?
Yeah, I'm a little torn on him. I mean, there's a bloodlines conversation. Actually, Salas and Ethan, Jose, and Andrew, I believe we're all spending time together in the off season. There was during the AFL, they were all together popping around. I think Andrew and Ethan were together, but I think there's also like a little thing you can pick apart. Not that you want to tie all of them closely, but like Ethan's got a similar path. Like very like there's an advancedness to Ethan Salas. And what is it defensively? He's a major league defender right now. My buddy Troy Collins, there's a very funny video that's out there. I don't know if you've seen it, if you have Instagram. We were there together and they were running these catching drills where they had the guys doing like somersaults and cartwheels and stuff like that. And it was just very funny to see. And Salas has got picked up. Like he was showing me like Bleacher Report wants all the stuff because it's something about him. But Salas is Ethan Salas is a high-end defensive player. He's always been. He's got some advanced skills, but those other skill sets have never quite grown over time. He's shown like, some really good max EVs, but never been consistent. And the reason I'm saying all of this is like, that's kind of Andrew, like Andrew Salas doesn't really show the ability to get the ball in the air. He has not shown consistency on his hitting. He doesn't have a really big power output. Now, am I out on him? Nah, he's a 17-year-old kid. It's from, in a very, very advanced family. These guys are working together. I think there's a reason, this team, like the reason he got the deal that he got is similar to Salas and like how advanced he is. But do I have my concerns? Like I do. I'm not sure if he's going to steal at this rate. Complex level stolen bases. I don't want to be dismissive of it because that's silly. But like it's not hard to be 99% successful and you have guys running like crazy. So I want to see what the stolen bases look like at the next level when there's a lot better catching going on. And as far as that goes, I don't like the strikeouts as much as he can walk. And he showed, an over 120 point boost from his batting average to OBP. I don't like to see 110 strikeouts in 371 at bats. Like that has me concerned. That's already attached to like some questionable consistency and some questionable ability to get the ball in the air. So like, I think he's worth highlighting. And I think in super deep leagues, like he's a player that you should be paying attention to because he's 17 years old and he got some advanced assignments, just like his brother. This is a critical year. Like I did an episode on my show Prospect One where it was like make or break years. This is not the make or break year for him But this is the first line of like, all right, Andrew's got to take the next big step. And I think a lot of people could be counting him out. So I just don't really know what direction it's going to go. Cause like you said, like, hey, look, there's a good max EV and the guy can get on base, but at the same time, he's striking out too much. The batting average really stunk. And I don't know what the power projection, if it's ever really going to materialize. So I'm a little bit indifferent on him, but I like to speculate on young guys with aggressive assignments. So I don't think there's any reason why, we're not highlighting him here. I agree of this list too, because looking at the players that you had, I think he's one of the guys that really stands out as far as those like low level guys. Like I think you said, I like Janso Luis. I've seen a whole bunch, and I don't know if Antonacci was on that part of the list, but I get it. He like from a promising prospect standpoint, he's the best to like make the long-term bet on.
Yeah. So I've put up on the screen, if you're watching, you can see his launch angle distribution is actually really good. Like he gets to really good angles. He's just not hitting the ball hard enough at those angles. So it's like if you're hitting the ball soft at like, line drive angles or whatever, it's going to be like a blooper or whatever. It's kind of like what he runs into. He's got a 24% line drive rate, 21.3% air pull. This is really good. So he's getting to good angles. It's just a matter of him not hitting the ball hard enough, but I think he'll grow into that. 16.6% chase rate, Welsh. So I think that the strikeouts will go down. I would bet that a lot of those strikeouts are called strikeouts, especially because it's 37% swing rate. So pretty, kind of like waiting, like a lot of like waiting around.
Yeah, and the low level stuff. And I think I said complex, by the way, A ball. Yeah, and I mistakenly said complex. The low level stuff. It's like this is the quintessential of the non-linear path to prospects to me, is this type of stuff right here. There's really good, there's really bad. There was high praise to his name where he was being ranked high. That's fallen because of results. I love this. This is the type of thing that I love. Will those things start to click? I'm not sure. I don't have like strong feelings on Andrew Salas that it's going to go in that big major positive direction, but there are definitely some outliers on him.
Yeah, for sure. Number 18 is Hansel Luis, like you mentioned. Diamondbacks. 17 is Sam Antonacci. And then I've got Antonacci right next to Adam Zuski. So like very kind of similar names. So got 16 Josh Adamczewski here. And that's the guy that you wanted to talk about. So why don't you hit us on Adam Zuski here, who I believe you probably saw a decent amount because he was in Fall League.
That's on. Well, the three of the guys you just listed, Luis was in the Fall League, Antonacci was in the Fall League, and Adam, you call him Adam Zuski? I've heard like four different versions. I assume
that's how you say it. I have a lot of friends that are from Chicago, which is like super Polish. Yeah. And that's obviously like a super Polish name. So I'm kind of just guessing based on my.
No, it's a good. I think that's
Chicago.
The AFL has this really bad trend where like you get the announcer and they give him like three different versions of the name. And I just would look and I would be like, it's Josh A. But super, super fascinating dude, because it was supposed to be a powerhouse team. And I'm making this a little bit about the AFL for a second. It was supposed to be a powerhouse team with Sebastian Walcott and Aiden Miller. And Aiden Miller bowed out. Sebastian Walcott got hurt on the first day. Shocker, he's out again. And Josh ended up getting this opportunity to shine. But ironically, it wasn't in the infield. It was in the outfield, is where he ended up playing a decent amount of his time. But like, he's kind of a fire plug dude. Like, he listed him 6 foot 190. I wouldn't argue if you said 5'11", close to 200, kind of built up, really good bat speed. Regular season, he hit 5 homers, 7 stolen bases, 320 with a 420 OBP. You love to see that. Strikeout numbers, nothing concerning. The dude walked 77 times in 115 games, and he continued that out in the AFL with that tremendous bat speed. There was a run where it looked like he was going to start vying for like an MVP award out here. And what I think is most impressive about that, and you've got this on camera, you've got some of the AFL stuff on here, is this at the end of the year. This is at a time where a lot of these guys were starting to wear out, and he wasn't. He was showing off some really, really impressive power numbers. You can see in that video right there, pretty strong build, and he's already showed like multi-position flexibility. And he was playing with like Luke Adams, Marco Dinges for a little bit, and he was the star of that. I mean, honestly, he was probably one of the top 2 or 3 best players on that surprise team. And I think it came from some of the intangibles. Like the numbers are there, but great bat speed. I think the guy is going to barrel. He does a really good job of getting the ball in the air. And I think he's kind of a complete player. So he's one of those guys that I do think there's a possibility he could go either direction. Maybe he becomes, and this is cheap comps, but like he could become like a Sal Frelick type of guy. But I also don't think it's out of pocket that if he puts up like higher launch angles, I think he's going to hit the ball pretty hard and he pulls it. Can he hit 15 to 20 homers? Is he going to steal 20 plus bases? Absolutely. I think he can be like a top end of the order guy. And you can see some of that bat speed on play in the video there. So very, very impressive. I mean, Antonacci is another guy that was really impressive out here. But as far as this list goes, he's a player that completely jumps out to me. And since even though what we're talking about positionally, like he might be a full-time outfielder last year, like the Brewers were looking for what do they have as far as flexibility goes in him. And, they just had a lot of those guys. Ortiz, Caleb Durbin, who they traded, like they're looking for guys that they can get out on the field of flexibility. He's going to move through the system pretty quick. So I'm very impressed with him.
Yeah. One thing I really like about him is that the splits are pretty good. He hit 324 against righties and he's a lefty, and he still hit 304 against lefties. So there's like so many lefty on lefty splits issues in the minors that like most people don't necessarily look at. You have to like kind of look hard to find the splits from minor leagues. But he doesn't have that issue. So pretty interesting. And it'll be nice to get some good exit velocity data from him when that stuff comes out. So,
yeah. Oh man. You know what? I think there was, let me see. Well, I probably won't be able to do this in any quick amount of time, but I don't know if Prospect Savant had an AFL leaderboard, and I don't think I'm going to be able to pull it in time. But if I recall, I want to say he put up, I don't want to talk out my ass here, but I want to say he put up a 113. Okay, wait, hold on. I've got it here. Let me see if I can. Why can't I do
113 would be pretty sick. I might move him up a spot or two if he did. If I know he does that.
Let me see where the max is. Sorry, this is like horrifically bad. Okay, no. So it was 109.6 was his max EV out here, but 91.8 average exit velocity. And again, shout out to my boy over. I did an interview with Prospect Savant. 91.8 average, 109.6. Oh, this is what I was thinking of. 434 max distance too. So like,
oh, nice.
We was crushing, and you can check some of that stuff out. I actually, ironically, the overall average bat speed actually registered pretty low. I don't really recall that, but 45% hard hit rate on the AFL, 12% barrel, just some impressive stuff from Adam Shesky.
Yeah, however you want to say it. J.A.
Josh, from Josh, my good friend Josh.
Yeah, Josh, just our buddy Josh. We got Josh. Here number 15 in the next crop is Rock Riggio with Colorado. Obviously, he's got some proximity on his side, so that's going to help him a little bit, and hitting in Colorado too. Number 14 is Gavin Killen, Giants first-round pick. Number 13, good old Termarr Johnson, still hanging around, still doing his thing, still walking at least. Like at least
I just saw Termarr at the Dream Series, dude. He's still smiling. He big personality. You just root for him, but yeah, it doesn't click.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever give up on him because he's like this guy that's just always been super young for his level too. So I feel like I always just want to give him a little bit of extra credit on top.
Agreed.
It's like, okay, he's getting the little gold star, extra credit gold star for turning his paper in one day early every single time. So that's Termarr Johnson. And then number 12, this is a guy that I want to talk about. I'm a big fan of this dude. It's Yadhir Aranamo. So Aranamo actually made my top 150 prospects. And we just wrapped up the Scott Dynasty. I'm gonna give this away. We just wrapped up the Scott White Dynasty League FYPD draft or whatever. And I'm tag teaming with Raymond. Raymond is like, I don't know prospects. You got to come help me in this league, dude. So I'm tag teaming with Raymond, and Aaron Amo is like one guy that I almost picked with this last pick here. But I didn't. So I've been picking Gabriel Davalillo instead. But Aaron Amo, 141 in my rankings. Dude, I really like this dude. He had a 50. I gave him a 55 on the hit, 45 out of 55 on the plate approach, 40 out of 50 on the power, 50 out of 50 speed. And like I comped him on my comp to Justin Turner But really, it's like a prospect. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Michael Arroyo, where he just like does a little bit of everything. He's like above average at like more or less everything. I'm gonna throw his F scores and all that stuff up here in a second as I'm talking about him. But I like him a lot. And the one thing that does concern me, I guess, is that it's the Rays. So it's like, okay, the Rays are always doing the platoony type stuff. But this dude, 5'8", 160, so smaller build, right? But you see the F scores: 103 power, 107 hit, 110 discipline, 106 speed. So really nice F scores, an 81.7% contact rate, 8% walk rate with only an 11% K rate. And then he had 21 steals this year, 32 last year. Not, 72% stolen base success rate isn't great, but it's not terrible. Hits lefties and righties, 15 bombs. So 15-20 this year. And he had a 150 extra base hit plus. So this is a metric that we made, Welsh, where basically extra base hit plus, what it is you're taking the total bases, the extra bases per at bat, divided back against the average player at the same level that he was playing at. So basically, that's really good. It means it's 50% better than the average dude on extra bases per plate appearance. He had, 49 extra base hits this year for a little middle infielder. So the dude can get a lot of extra base hits too. So super interesting player here, and Yadher Arenamo.
Yeah, I saw him when he was a Brewer. He's really toned down. He had some craziness in his swing. And I remember having conversations with people because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of business going on. And I think there's been a lot of work at quieting down some of that because, sometimes, the whole mechanics of getting into the load, it's whatever, as long as they get there and they show off the bat speed and stuff like that. And he's kind of quieting down. Yeah, I'm a little torn on him. He's one of those guys because like I have some of my old like preconceived thoughts on him of size. There's like a super util field to it, but he just absolutely like balled out in the Venezuelan Winter League. Hit 364, 13 homers, another like really low strikeout rate. Like that's what he does. I have some, this is going to feel weird, because I don't really fully believe on like the stolen bases and stuff like that, but just follow me here. I kind of feel like he might end up being like a Yandy Diaz type. And I'm not saying like he's going to be a big bulky first baseman, but I'm saying like a guy that at the end of the day hits for high average. He could work in the middle of and Rays. I actually didn't even put that as I said that it's like another Rays guy. They might see some similarities in that he's not a guy that's going to pull out. He's not going to be Junior Caminero and pull off all the, big crazy homers, but he's a guy that's going to like tap in, be a doubles hitter, lots of batting average. Like he's on a rocket ship right now from like a value perspective, from what he did in the Venezuelan league. I think when you have like what you're doing and you're doing like a break, he's a guy that stands out because you're looking at, okay, here's power. You're looking at extra bases. You're looking at low strikeout rates. Like those are things that pop. Is it going to stick at the higher levels? I think there's some questions like just overall in the approach, especially when he gets hit with like really intense velocity at higher levels and stuff like that, but he doesn't strike out. So I think there's a lot. I think he's a major leaguer. I think this is a guy that's going to be a major leaguer. Is he going to be a starter, or is he going to be like a really good util player? I think that those are some of the questions, but he's a great guy to bet on right now because he is showing great progression. Like you're seeing the progression of the hit tool, the power. I mean, specifically the power as of recent. I mean, dude hit 13 homers in the Venezuelan league after putting up like a really phenomenal season. We might be on the cusp of, who cares what I just said? He's going to end up tapping in and 20 plus. So if you get 20 plus homers with a sub 15% K percentage, get the hell out of here. But there's always something in me that's like staring at that, all the crazy mechanics and the stuff he's working through, but really super interesting guy.
Yeah, he held his own at AA with Tampa, 83% contact rate in AA, 4 bombs and 6 steals in 37 games there. Yeah, look at that. I love those mechanics. See, I want him to make the major leagues.
You love those mechanics, or you love them?
This is why, because this is a fun swing to mimic. This is like a batting stance guy classic if he makes the major leagues. Totally. I want him to make it just based on that.
But also, like that was really interesting that one that you just had there, and that's something I think like what is that going to be in his game? It was 2 at bats ago where he had that super low chase. Like he's not like he's a guy that is great plate presence, but like is he gonna push a pitcher to get to his pitch? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he going to get
Mhm.
the optimized pitch for him to be able to pull the ball and make big contact? Or is he just such a demon out there that he's going to find ways to push it to right field? He's going to hit it up the middle. Like he's going to make contact because that's what he does really well. Like those are all like the little questions, but that's just getting into like, sometimes it gets into the semantics of it. If you just want to look at like underlying numbers, he has so much going for him. He did steal 20 bases, this past year, even if like I don't fully buy into it or the success rate when it gets a little bit later. I'm not sure the Rays are going to push him to. We want you to be a 30 stolen base guy. If anything, I think that's going to go by the wayside, and they're going to want to focus on like high contact, get the guys on base. I don't know if he'll be a splits guy either, but he's a trippy dude. He's a really trippy guy. I think I just did this episode in a redraft baseball perspective, talking about variance and like gaps. Like here's a guy, he's got a high of 29, and then he's got a low of ranking 29 and a low of 140. Holy crap. This guy has a high and low variance of over 100 spots. Like this is a high variance guy to me. Like I could see, I don't know if you said you have him at top 100. I could see people having him in the range of the top 100. I could see people having him outside the top 300. I think there's a lot of variance with him.
Yep, I've got him at 141, so he made my top 150, not quite the top 100, but yeah, he's a fun player. Like the extra base hits. Once I saw those extra base hits, I was like, man, middle infielders don't hit that many extra base hits. It's kind of crazy. And he almost has like a reverse split thing going on too. You brought up the splits. Righty on righty, he had a 301, 396, 456 slash. So he's actually better with an 81% contact. So he's actually better against righties. Kind of interesting. Okay, so you have Tommy Troy. This is number 11 here. So what do you think about good old Tommy Troy kind of making a comeback? Like he had a bad year in 2024. 2025 was like what you call the rebound season. And this is why prospect growth is not linear. Because now Tommy Troy is like on the cusp here. Like, and you're the Diamondbacks fan. Does he have a chance to break the roster? Like,
no.
Is he going to break camp?
No, he's definitely not going to break camp. It was funny. I was thinking, I was talking to him one of the days I went to camp, and I was like, are you on the 40? I just what Dim was looking at. I'm like, are you on the 40 man? And he's like, no, it's non-roster. He's like, they have until next year. And it was kind of and it's just a totally nonchalant question, but it was one of those things where it was like, he was hyper aware of his space and where things are right now. He was like, no, they have the option to go next year. Like in that he knows where the progression is. Aside from that though, I truly think that this team has entertained and continues to entertain the ideas of they moved off of Blaze. And I think there's still, and they should entertain moving a guy like Jordan Lawler because of the progression of some of these young guys. Ryan Waldschmidt is an absolute demon, but like Tommy Troy has made so many great strides in the right direction that I think this team needs to really like pay a lot more attention because you were worried. You were really worried this past year. Did the power go? This guy at Stanford who was hitting for average and he was an analytics guy. I actually talked with, it's a name drop thing, but I talked with Corbin Carroll the year that they took Tommy Troy, and he had said a friend of his who was in the draft department said their entire draft class was built around like heavy analytics guy. That was the same year they took Gino Groover as well. And it's like, they want guys that, are barreling the ball, that are putting up good hard hit numbers. And that's what Tommy was. But Tommy went through like his really like weird adjustment period with the strikeouts and the power. Well, then guess what? And he was injured. He came to the Arizona Fall League, put his work in, popped up this next season, 15 homers, 24 stolen bases, 382 average. AAA Reno is like a really good environment. He hit even better than he did in Amarillo, but 280 plus at both levels. Showed off his power, still stole bases. I think he's got some defensive flexibility. Tommy Troy's going to get a look this year. Like, I don't know what it is. I also think, and this is a crazy one, but I think like the team had to also consider the whole Cattell stuff because they knew they had the replacements in the middle infield. They had Lawler and they specifically had Tommy Troy, and these guys are ready. So like, what are they going to do with Tommy? He has almost exclusively been in the middle infield. Can he be an outfielder? He's a pretty small guy. The Diamondbacks love their small guys. He's one of them, but he is bulky and built, and the dude can sling the ball, great bat speed, but I just don't know if he's an outfielder, so they're going to move him at third base. I think the position stuff is going to be tough. I will be locked in camp. I want to go to the Diamondbacks this week, hopefully, to try to see like where are they moving him around. But I think the big thing here is like cut the strikeouts down. He improved that on base. I mean, 451 slug, 833 OPS, 28 doubles across both levels. Like the power numbers look really good. And this is what he was built for. Like he was built to barrel, pull, in air, and go. And he provides some stolen bases as well. So I think Tommy Troy is on the cusp. And for everybody that's like a proximity drafter, that's why I think he's even got more value. You know, he is a little bit blocked from the Diamondback spot, but you know what? Just throw this out here. It might be 12 months from now we're doing this. I do not think it is out of pocket that we are talking about the Diamondbacks making a move with Ketel Marte back out into the outfield, where I think it would be beneficial, and then them trying to find a spot for a guy like Tommy Troy, because that's, you know, I mean, Juan Soto's moving for Carson Benj. I think Tommy Troy or Ketel can move back out into the outfield, and they could have an outfield of like, you know, Lourdes and Ketel and Corbin Carroll, and that would be great, and put Alec on the bench. So I think Tommy Troy is going to bully his way in. He's more locked in than ever, and I love the underlying stuff with him, and he really proved it this year.
Yeah, you gotta love these highlight videos too, where every hit is a home run. So it makes Tommy Troy look like he's Pete Alonso, where it's just like bomb after bomb after bomb. But you gotta love that leg kick in his stance there, and he's pulling all these. I comped him in my rankings to like a light Michael Garcia. Like, I don't know if you kind of see that kind of outcome for him, because I think he's kind of like could get to like 15-25 if he gets there. But
yeah, I see that.
His triple A numbers are pretty nice. So I'm gonna pull them up real quick here. So here we go. In the second half, he had a really strong second half: 301, 379, 451 slash, 5 home runs in the second half, and an 80.7 contact, 91% zone at AAA. Pretty insane. The one thing at AAA that we don't like is these EVs here, but in the past he's hit to much better exit velocities than this. So I don't know. Have you, like, because you've seen him more often in person, like how loud does it sound when you hear him in person?
Loud. I mean, he's like a 110 guy. I don't think he's never going to be like a 115 guy, but he's a 110 guy. That was what was going on in the AFL, even though there were some consistencies, because it was AFL the previous year. I feel confident about the power numbers. I mean, again, that like literally he was built off of and drafted, because I had this great sheet of a lot of the college analytics. I would not be able to find it in time here, but I've gotten them for the last 3 years of like, he was an eye-popping. I remember him and Matt Shaw were two of the like eye-popping analytics guys from their college numbers, where you're like, holy crap, you know, these dudes are putting up like these pretty great 90th percentile EVs, and they're barreling the ball. And that is Tommy Troy. And I think we have seen a very, very drastic change year over year. Great, you know, prospect maturity from a really poorish year that had some injuries and, you know, the missed time and bad production, to an AFL where he just bootstraps up, smiled, put up some really good. I want to say there was like 110, 111 in the Arizona Fall League, and then it translated into like a really big year. But yeah, pulls the ball. I think nothing to worry about. I wouldn't look at 38 AAA games on any of the hard hit numbers and say, oh, that's the be all end all for Tommy. And he got a little bit bigger too. He looks a little bit bigger in camp this year.
All right, we're going to get into the top 10 now, and we're going to do like little quick hitters on these guys. So number 10 is Jefferson Rojas with the Cubs. So Jefferson Rojas made it all the way to AA this year as a 20-year-old. So I do give him a bit of a bump just for that. It's almost like Cole Young repeat, you know, rinse, repeat. Like just bump him up early. Looks okay. Bump him up early. But a lot of people are out on Jefferson Rojas now. Like I feel like he's kind of lost steam. How do you feel about Jefferson Rojas right now? Like temperature check on Jefferson Rojas, Welsh.
I would say I guess I'm lukewarm. I don't want to say I'm out, but I don't. I'm 100% of Tommy Troy over Rojas here. I think from a numbers perspective, I think he's probably going to end up being like a 15-15 guy. I'm not sure I really am going to buy into like hyper, and maybe stolen bases go up a little bit, but I'm not sure I'm going to buy into like really aggressive counting stats numbers. I don't love that you had another batting average dip, 2 straight years of hitting under 2. Batting average isn't the be all end all, but I want these guys to like progress through and make like consistent contact. And you get to double A and he really struggled at double A. He'll go back there and hopefully dominate. But yeah, I think I'm kind of like fringy on him. I don't know if there's a carrying tool that makes me like overtly excited. Plus, there's a team in a system that he is going to be massively blocked, and I think his path and the path for growth is going to be with another organization, theoretically. If it's not, it's just going to be him blocked for a couple years. So I just don't. I think without like a overtly high carrying tool, I'm lukewarm on Rojas.
Yeah, I've got he and Troy are actually back to back in my rankings. So I've got him at 114 and Troy at 115. And I feel like I gave him a bit of a bump just because of that age to level, which is, kind of why he got the bump there between the two. Number 9 in the rankings is Aaron Estrada. Aaron Estrada, to me, is a big time riser with the Orioles. I actually talk about the Scott White Dynasty League. I drafted him in the Scott White Dynasty League. Aaron Estrada, F scores love this kid. 101 power, 106 hit, 102 discipline, 123 speed. And he was 20 years old, just like Rojas. He was 20 years old playing at Double A this year for the Orioles. And unlike Rojas, he actually was good at Double A. He got better at Double A. 303, 358, 505 slash at Double A. ISO went up to 202. So maybe it's a better ballpark too. Minor leagues can be kind of weird with that. But the good thing about the F scores is all these are divided back against the players that they're playing against the levels that they're at. So it's all divided back against the level that they're at. So that's why F scores are sweet. But he had 10 home runs, 34 steals, 128 extra base hit plus. Doesn't strike out too much, 17% strikeout rate, and then a 77% contact. So I think he's a super interesting guy. Like definitely really small, but I think he's a super interesting guy. Aaron Estrada, kind of underrated. What do you think about Aaron Estrada?
Yeah, I get Ryan Bliss vibes. I think like super util if he gets an opportunity to go. I think Ryan Bliss, kind of some similar numbers. If you look at it, there's some power potential with Bliss and big stolen bases. I also think from a size perspective, I mean, definitely a smaller guy, never going to build on any like I don't know if it's gonna be like big, impactful weight. Like Tommy Troy is like a 5'8", but like 210 brick. Like that's not Estrada, but tons of encouraging stuff. Like to me, this is like a guy that they want to push through a system. You get opportunities for. I don't know if he can ever hold down any gig. The stolen bases could really push him up. Could he be could the power maybe push aside and he ends up being like a Caballero type of guy, like super util and stolen bases. He gets on base. Like I do think there's a lot to like here, but I get like Ryan Bliss vibes.
Ooh, I put a little bit of an Ozzy Albies. But Ozzy Albies is always a guy too who like has outperformed his underlying metrics like at every level.
True.
So maybe he can do that too. Small little guy. I think he quit switch hitting though sometime this year. Aaron Estrada. So just something to note for future reference.
So get that note to Chris Getz.
Yeah. Number 8. That's hilarious.
All right, now you got it. Yeah, that took you a second. You gave me a cheap ass laugh there of like you're being generous, and then it like 3 seconds in, then it clicked what I was doing.
It clicked in. Yeah, number 8 is Arun Escobar. Arun Escobar at the Phillies. Arun, look, you're going from Aaron to Arun. It's just like add 1 O in there, and there we go. So we got that did not happen on purpose because
did you see my thing with before you get into breaking him down? Did you see my thing with Arun?
No.
Oh, you mean the star of was it Finfleet or Finleet? I don't get a lot of viral stuff, and I guess you could probably argue what is viral, but I would always assume like anything that's over like 1 million impressions, 1 million views is in that. This went well beyond it. I was scrolling Twitter one night and I come across an ad for, I want to say it's I'm screwing up the name. Finleet. What it is.
I think I know.
Yeah, that is.
It's Finleet. Invest in the player or whatever.
Yep. I see an ad and it's Arun Escobar's face at me. And it's like, get stock in this prospect and their future contracts. And I immediately screenshot it and said, this is going to end bad. It is one of the worst ideas out there. And everyone joined in, but poor Arun Escobar was attached to it. He was the photo of it. And I'll always think of him like that, but horrifically bad idea from not to go into all of it, but like, Jake Paul and his Pokemon thing, to the hedge funds that have been doing this with players forever, but to throw into the public, hey, you can get some future equity in this guy's contract. I'm sure this company, I'm sure it's all going to be up going 20 plus years from now and everyone's going to get their money. I could not believe it, but I will always think of Arun Escobar when I see him. And hopefully some people, knowing I'm on here and you saying it, thought of that as well.
That's hilarious because John, I don't know, I want to say like 3 weeks ago or something, he texted me and he's like, hey, should we invest in this? And he sent me the link. I'm going to embarrass him now. He sent me the link.
You should not.
And I looked at the math on it and I was like, dude, you need like an 85th percentile outcome just to beat the S&P 500. I was like, no, this is a terrible investment. And like, I think it was for Carlos Lagrange. Lagrange
is on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, this dude, just to beat the S&P 500, I was like, this dude has to get a $120 million contract.
You know who also everybody pointed out to me was also a part of, I just found my tweet, by the way. Oh my God. Yeah. It says support a rising prospect, get paid a piece of his MLB earnings. And one of the first comments under it was their other spokesman, Emmanuel Clase. So just throwing that out there if you want to be a part of, it seems like a great idea. I'm not a legal advisor. I'm not a money investor. You want to invest, Tim, you want to invest in Arun Escobar, you knock yourself out you want to invest in your 8th second baseman, do it.
Yeah, exactly.
This wouldn't be the one I would do though, but
yeah. So Arun, I've got at 76 overall. So he actually is in my top. He's the first of these guys in my top 100. So Arun Escobar, I threw a 50 out of 60 on the hit, 50 out of 50 on the plate approach, 50 out of 55 on the power, 55 out of 50 on the speed. So we got a pretty nifty player here, good contact skills, pretty good zone contact, steal some bags, hit some bombs. Like, I feel like he's just going to be this like kind of really solid contributor. Mechanics wise, he reminds me of Jean Segura. So that's the comp that I used on him. But I know a lot of people really, really love him. But I think he's going to be more just like a really good, solid middle infielder than I don't think that you have like a highest end outcome with him. But how do you feel about him? Because I'm kind of like, I guess I'm a tweener on him. Like there's like guys that really love him, but I'm not in that camp. Like I think he's really good, but
all I was hearing was like prestige worldwide, like investment, possibly you as you were talking through it, like, OBP, got it. Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you on that. I remember in season being like, what's their problem keeping him at low A for as long as they did? As a reminder, like a heavy amount of his production, what did he have? Like 460 at bats. More than half of those as a 20-year-old came at low A. It's like, get him the hell out of here. They really let him marinate there. And a decent amount of his power production came from A ball. And then he started stealing. When he went to high A, power kind of went by the wayside a bit and he started stealing some bases. Batting average also tanked at both levels, three straight down. But all jokes aside with it, by the way, I'm all of that negativity I was talking about. Like I'm all for players, get your money, do your thing, no hate on any of that. Like there's some real power potential in there. What I'm concerned about, because there is a little age to level. Like if you want to look at it, he was a 20-year-old at low A, and then a 20-year-old at high A was hitting 250, and then, push up one, he hit 156. I think there's some like age to level stuff. I'm not sure I buy that he's going to be like a high end batting average guy, but he's got there's some nice counting stats in there. I think you were kind of, what were you alluding to him being like a fringy, like major, like, I think that's where he is. I think he's like a fringy type of guy. Maybe he'll have some like, what you say? Gene Segura is a weird one though, because Segura had some like elite stolen base years. I'm just not sure that will be part of Arun's game. I feel like if anything, it might waver into like stolen bases going down a little bit and power coming up and him just kind of meeting in the middle. But I don't have like great expectations that he's going to be a high end like batting average guy.
Yeah, maybe like 15, or I don't know. Luis Rengifo, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. I just said Segura because he has like the same exact batting stance. If you watch them to get like watch them frame by frame, like it's computer side by computer side, and you'll be like, oh, that's how Tim got it. Makes sense now. So what are we whatever. Number 6 is Demetrio Crisantes. This is one of your homies.
Yeah.
I love Crisantes, by the way. Like Crisantes to me is incredible value right now. I really wanted to get him in that Scott White Dynasty League too. And then I was like, okay, that's our next pick. And then he went like right before us. But I love Crisantes coming back from injury. I'm going to pull his stats up last year because he was like, if he didn't get hurt last year, Welsh, like he was on pace,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that he would be like a top 40 prospect or something. Maybe.
But also,
like
look at the career in the minors. If you just want to do that, that's about a season. That's right under 600 at bats, 12 homers, 38 stolen bases, a 323, 400 plus OBP. I mean, that's like, you're 100% right. I saw him in complex a decent amount, and he immediately stood out. One of those dudes, absolute pest at the plate, not getting by, even though he only hit 252. That's the thing that, I mean, this was this past year. He's one of those guys. He is going to be a demon at the plate, makes a ton of contact. He's got sneaky power, good stolen bases. Could he be a 2020 guy? I think that's within the realm of possibility. Probably bet more of like a 15, 25. I think he could hit at the top of the lineup. I don't want to make myself where I'm sounding pessimistic about non-Diamondbacks guys. And I'm like, hey, Tommy Troy and Crisantes. But like Chris, I agree with what you said. Crisantes is a great value because he missed so much time last year. The only thing that's really holding him up are some lists, but people are just not drafting him. People are not super excited about him. So he's healthy. He's back out. I saw him at camp that one day that I went out at the Diamondbacks. Looks bigger than when I saw him. Like the whole 6'1", 170. He looks quite a bit bigger than that, especially from when I saw him in complex. And if he continues to hit, if that average is there and the rest of the tools follow, Crisantes is going to be like a top 50 guy for sure. I love myself some Slade Caldwell, but like it might be Ryan Waldschmidt and then it might be Crisantes. And frankly, Waldschmidt might lose that eligibility really quick. So Crisantes has a really good shot to be near the top of the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I've got Crisantes at 64 overall right now. An 88% contact rate last season is absolutely insane. He had like an 82 or 83 or something the season before too, so it's not like an aberration. And he has had a max EVA of 117.3. So like this guy also hits the ball really hard. And even though he's not like crazy on the base pass, like stealing all the time. Like you see 2024, 21% attempt rate is pretty solid. 17, 2025. It's like a little more than most people because the average stolen base attempt rate for anyone is 12%. So it's a little above average, but an 86% success rate too. So he's actually like really good at stealing when he does go. So yeah, I think like he could be a very solid, I don't know, maybe he only steals like 15 bags just because he's not super aggressive on the base pass, but he's really good at it. But maybe he could get to even 20, 25 homer power just because the exit velocities are hard enough once he gets the right angles factored in. So I'm really high on him. So he's my number 6 second baseman here. Number 5 is Michael Arroyo with the Mariners. Or actually, no, he's 6. Sorry. So wait. Yeah. Crisantes is 7, Arroyo 6. Can't count. I did not put a column for numbers, so shame on me. Michael Arroyo, number 6, Seattle Mariners. Arroyo, like I feel like I've been the high guy on Arroyo for a while now.
You definitely have, yeah.
But now I'm kind of down. I'm like a little down on him. Like I almost feel like Cross has passed me on like the Arroyo love, and I'm kind of just like mid on him. Like I think I have him at like 50 or 51, and I feel like that's just where he deserves to be. Like I don't think he has the tools to carry him to like top 40 prospect status just because he's he's a really good player. He's above average at everything, but he's not elite at anything. So it's like he's just not going to ever be that, superstar type guy. He's just going to be a really good guy. Points, maybe like way better in points leagues just because he's like doesn't strike out. He walks, he gets hits. But yeah, I think he's just kind of like going to sit there until he graduates in that area for me in my rankings. How do you feel about that?
I think he's like who he is, kind of who he is. But you said this guy earlier. If there's any player on here that I think could be the next Ozzy Albies, I think it's Arroyo. And I say that on both ends. Ozzy Albies had a bonkers season, but what else is Ozzy? Inconsistent, and he bounced. Like I think Arroyo can be that. I think Arroyo could hit 280. I think he could hit 250. I think he could go 20, 30. I think he could go 15, 50. I think the realm of possibility is all in that. And kind of what you're getting a little bit of that prospect fatigue. And that does happen when you're like, hey, sky's the limit on this guy. He could be this. And then they're just kind of continuously what they are. And then that's that's usually the recipe for when you end up being like, okay, I'm just median on that guy. I've always kind of been. I think I've been middle on Arroyo. A lot to like. I've never been overtly in love. He definitely, the body has progressed in a great way. The power seems to be pretty consistent. It's averaging over the last 2 years. He's technically averaging 20 homers. The stolen bases kind of came down this past year, but I think he'd be like a 2010 guy. And I think there's a real possibility he could be a version of like an Ozzy Albies. So maybe, you hear that and you're like, oh, you should be really high on him. I got him inside my top 50, but I've had him inside my top. I've had him probably between 50 and 65 for like 2 years, So even though I'm talking a little bit more positively, I feel like I'm with you. I'm just like, yeah, he's fine. I don't think he's going to grow. And all of a sudden this year, he's going to be a 290 hitter and 30-30 type of season. I don't want to say it's not possible, but I just don't believe it. And also, if he's going to get to the majors, that's a kind of power suppressing environment as well. It's not a really good hitting environment. Not that you would want to ding a player like a ton like that, but he's like a 20 homer guy. He's probably a 20 stolen base guy. And if he hits for high average, I think that'll be a pleasant surprise if it's like above average. But I think Michael Roy is like a really good player. I just don't think he's like an elite, untouchable in fantasy. Oh, nope, they can't trade Michael Arroyo. Like, no, I think he's just a great guy, a great prospect to have. But, I think he belongs in the territory of the 40s, like the Tyson Lewis. I'm just looking at some names I have around, like the Tyson Lewises of the world. I'll take Kalen Culpepper over him. I'm picking some shortstops, but you get what I'm going with.
Yep. Number 5 on the list is a guy who just got traded. It's Jet Williams, no longer with the Mets, now with the Milwaukee Brewers. And I was joking with Doc on the last podcast. I was like, Jet Williams, basically they traded Caleb Durbin, and then they brought in the new Caleb Durbin, which is Jet Williams, because they're both like little Mighty Mouse type dudes. But I think Jet Williams
gave him his pants. They're just like, here, this shirt will fit you. You're 5'4" or whatever. Yeah.
Same number and everying. Same apartment. They just move him right into the same apartment, same bed and everything. Okay, here you go.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So Jet Williams going to move right in, might break camp. Who did they just sign? They just signed someone.
Luis Rengifo.
Yeah, they just signed Rengifo. Before they signed Rengifo, Jet Williams was on the roster resource as the starter for third base for them. So it's very possible. Like, I don't know where he's going to play. He played second in outfield mostly. Like, played some short, played some second, played some outfield. They had him at third. So I don't know where he's going to end up on the team. Brewers like to move guys around all over the place, right? Like, didn't have Sal Stewart even playing second base at one point, like at the beginning of last year or something like that. So they moved dudes around all over the place. Yeah. Oh yeah, so that's Sal Stewart, Sal Frelick.
Frelick looks like he might be the third baseman. Like, that's what they're moving all those guys around. Pat likes to do that. They got a mold.
Yeah, just move guys around all over the place, figure it out on the fly. Bunch of first basemen in the minors over there. So, but yeah, Jet Williams, fun player. I love him for points leagues. How are you feeling about Jet Williams right now? I have him, I think, at like 30. Let me pull up real quick where I have him. I've got him at 36 overall.
I have him at 40 overall. I have never been like Jet. It's funny what you were saying with Arroyo. Like Jet Williams, I feel like I have just always been median on, and there's always someone that's like for 3 years, it's been Jet Williams for like a couple people that rank prospects are just absolutely in love with him. I've been fine. I wasn't impressed with him in the Arizona Fall League. I guess, overuse this a lot, but when guys have like this tremendous bat speed, like his ability to get to the ball, that bat speed is going to obviously help create and tap into like future power for a smaller guy, a little smaller, thicker guy. That bat speed and his ability to pull the ball, like right there, like that shows why he's going to be able to hit for power, despite being like 5'6" or whatever the hell he actually is. They list him at 5'7", so like he's a gamer and he can steal bases and he's got position flexibility. He is going to be a major leaguer. But like we've had people that have ranked him as like a top 10 prospect overall in baseball. Is he a 20-30 guy in the majors? I'm not sure. He just put up a 17-34 season. If he's a pretty high strikeout guy, if he gets the looks, I think Jet's really fascinating. I just worry, and I just don't kind of think he's going to hit for the type of average that's going to be able to allow him to unlock all of those tools. It also might put him in like a pseudo platoony type of thing, and it might. I think he'd be a late bloomer, but I guess I guess I'm kind of indifferent about Jet Williams because I don't even want to call it fatigue. I've just always been like, he's solid. He's fine. I've never been high. I've never been low. Milwaukee's a pretty good opportunity. There's a proximity side to this. I'm going to see the Brewers in a couple days, and I really hope to get some looks at him. The in looks I've had have never really been that impressive, but like some of the underlying stuff, especially for his size, like, you know, you did the cheap like Altuve thing where you're just like, oh, this is a guy that can really hit for power. Altuve never really stole, or I guess he did, the level of these stolen bases. So maybe that is some of it. As long as he's given an opportunity, I think he definitely could be worth more than the rank that we're giving him. But I've just always had questions about Jet.
So Bryce Terang last year went 18 homers and 24 steals.
Yep.
As a 25-year-old. Dynasty. Who are you taking, Jet Williams or Bryce Terang?
10 homers in 1 month for Bryce Terang too. I probably would take Bryce because I feel like I know who Bryce is. I think like I've been kind of anti-Bryce in fantasy right now because I think people look at what Bryce did last year and they're just like, let's freaking go. It's going to go to the moon now. And it's just like, nah, 10 of his 18 homers came in one single month. He made great improvements. And I think people are also like, oh, this position sucks. So they put him up there. But I feel like I know who Bryce is. I think Jet has a better outcome potential, except Bryce Terang also stole 50. But you know what I'm saying? Like Bryce Terang stole 50 bases and then that paired down with the homers. Could Jet be a 15-40 guy? Yeah, but Bryce Terang has already kind of been that, you know? So it's like, I'll take Terang over Jet, but I would definitely open up the possibility that like maybe Jet in 3 years is worth more of it. But I do think in more like 3-year windows. And I think Jet's got some adjustment periods in front of him. And I think Bryce has already gone through that. So I think over the next 3 years, Bryce Terang is like no doubt more valuable. I don't know if you feel different.
Yeah, I have Terang ranked ahead of him by like a tier, but it's actually way closer. It's like much closer than you might think. Just because I don't expect Terang's power, like you mentioned, 10 homers in 1 month. I do not expect that to happen again. I think he's more like a 12 homer guy than a 18 or 20 homer guy. Yeah. But I do expect maybe more steals than what he had last year. So number 4 is Sal Stewart. I have talked about him on the first base and the third base podcast, so I'm not going to talk about him again. But I love Sal Stewart. And the dude is very confident. He thinks he's going to win Rookie of the Year, and I like that. So I want to hear what your thoughts on Sal Stewart are.
Yeah, the underlying stuff is just absurd. This team loves him. I remember there was this unique game. It was 115 degrees out or whatever in Complex, and Sal was he was rehabbing. And he had like 2 club guys and like the chef that was out there to watch him. But it was this really weird game because he also was not able to he was not able to use his hands. Like he couldn't swing. So he had to just get out there and just get at bats. Like it was very Miguel Vargas like, because he was like, I don't know what they were doing, but it was just big positive vibes. He was so loved. I know that doesn't matter to a lot of people, but like super easy going when like you have to be out there and you can't do anything. You know, like you just had to take pitches, watch pitches, get out there. And all of that aside, like he's an underlying analytics darling. You know, if he had qualified, it's like one of the best barrel percentage, one of the best hard hit rates. Max average EV was ridiculous. Expected batting average is 289. Like everything looked really, really great. And I think projections are in like a really good spot for him. Pulled the ball a ton, and he's in a really, really great environment. Do I think he's going to be a shoe-in for Rookie of the Year? I don't. I think there's some tough pitching prospects that are out there, but like I do think he's in an environment that it now, like I had questions like 2 months ago of the playing time. They've made it pretty clear now. Like before it was like you got Steer and you got Marte and you got Christian Encarnacion Strand, and you got all these guys, and it's like they have pretty much openly said like, well, he's going to be the first baseman, and they're giving them opportunity. So I think he is absolutely worthwhile. And from if you are locking him in, because we're doing second base, if you're locking him at second base, I think he's from like a redraft perspective, he's the top guy in this list. From a dynasty perspective, I guess he would be my number 4. I don't consider him a second baseman, but now I'm looking at this. I forgot the 3 names we have above. He would be my number 4 here.
Yeah, Tito actually came out and said that he's going to basically be primary first base, and he's not going to even play he won't even play third, which was like his primary position. He played mostly third, and then like his second position was second base in the minors. And so Tito basically already came out and said he's going to be first base. But if you're lucky enough that you have the second base eligibility from his minor league stats for this year, then you can take advantage. So number 3 is one guy that you've been high on for a long time, Welsh. It's Travis Bazzana. So Bazzana, I have him actually a little lower than Sal Stewart in my overall rankings, but I put Bazzana ahead for dynasty for second base because he's actually going to stick there. But I think Bazzana, again, just kind of like with Crisantes, he's going to have a little bit of hidden value here. A lot of people are kind of just like forgetting about him. Maybe that's because McGonagall and JJ are just so good that it's kind of pushed him down. But and obviously like he was hurt and missed time. But I think Bazzana is like probably getting pushed down a little further than he should be. So expand a little bit on Bazzana and how you're feeling about him. I've got him at 25 overall. I don't know where you have him right now, but how are you feeling about Bazzana right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always a defender of Bazzana, and I'm not gonna like let go until it's all done and he's like a couple years into the majors. Will I relent on that? I've got him like right around my top 15 still. He's built for that ballpark for the right side for left-handed pull hitters, which he is. He's a high barrel, high pull, high launch angle, like he did it in college, registers like really good EV numbers that we just really haven't seen because he was injured. He was injured a ton this past year and so much adjustment period. He spent time at the complex league. And like we got some AAA numbers from him. He had a 12% barrel, which was solid, not really great hard to hit numbers, but he wasn't chasing because he's like a really interesting guy. I've said this before, so apologies, but Edouard Julien always drove me nuts because he would have these like high OBPs, but he would be super, super passive early in accounts. And then when it was 2 strikes, he would become hyper aggressive. And it's just like, can you do the opposite? Can you just be like aggressive early and then pare it down? Bazzana is kind of like that, where Bazzana is like if you throw it in his zone, he's going to swing and he is going to be hyper aggressive. And also he's going to try to pull the living crap out of the ball. If you looked, I'd have to look for it, but on my account, I've got some like open side view from when he was in complex and you could just see him attempting to try to pull the living crap out of the ball. Really, really strong, does a really good job at it. And I think there's just so much of this last year that was just taken away from a guy that I think is going to have high OBPs, is not going to have a strikeout problem, and has like absolute 25 plus home run power. So I don't think the minor leagues have told his full story. And frankly, like if he goes out there and he can't make the roster and it's July and he's struggling again, like, okay, that's a better answer. I just don't think enough of last year is going to tell me the story that like, oh, Travis Bazzana shouldn't be a top 50 prospect. I have no idea where other people rank him. I think 25 is completely respectable in that general range. And I think he's in a tier of a lot of other like really interesting big names, but just like, don't be surprised if the things start to click for Travis Bazzana and everyone's like, oh, holy crap, he just went 2020, and he's vying for a rookie of the year. I really think that is a possibility. I think he can get some major time this year. They do not have a second baseman that I think if Bazzana impresses in camp, who, by the way, I think they announced he's going to stay, in Major League camp for a while. If he doesn't impress, or at least in the first month or so of the season, they just don't have anybody, I think, that can like keep him from that. If we see, the Bazzana, the college version of Bazzana, the guy that went super high.
Yeah, I think also he sticks at second, whereas like the next 2 guys we talk about, there's an off chance that they end up at another position, and second base is pretty terrible compared to other positions. So I'd argue that like there's actually like some added value there just for that reason alone.
Yeah.
Number 2 on the list is JJ Weatherholt. JJ is basically guaranteed to break camp now at this point. Like it'd be like a complete upset. He'd have to be pretty bad, I think, this spring for him to not break camp.
Yeah.
I guess the big question is is Weatherholt going to be a second baseman or a third baseman? I was talking to Jeff Ponce about this on my podcast, and I was like, I think that Weatherholt is probably going to end up at third because I've watched enough of Nolan Gorman playing second base and third base to say that Nolan Gorman is not a good third baseman. He is a negative fielding third baseman. At second, he can kind of hold his own a little bit. He's okay at second. And primarily the looks that I've had at JJ are him playing shortstop, and he plays a good shortstop. He's not Mason Wynn, but he's good at shortstop. So I think that he would be a lot better of a defender at third than Nolan Gorman, just based on like the looks that I've had on both of these guys. So I think ultimately it makes more sense for Weatherholt to move to third. But I mean, like that's so I mean, like long term, you have to think about where he's going to stick, and that's kind of like where I'm at on it, as I think he probably ends at third, but it's not a guarantee at this point in time. But I love JJ, obviously, like amazing hit tool, even better plate approach than the hit tool. And you might have like a 55 power and a probably, maybe even a 60 speed. So he could get, it all kind of depends on like what they do. Like he'd also hit like second or third on this team. It's not like the Cardinals are great, right? So even from like a redraft perspective, you get a lot of value on a JJ Weatherholt this year. Maybe he goes 15-20 or 15-20 with a 280 batting average is like not outside of the realm of possibility for Weatherholt.
Love JJ. I think long term he is a second baseman. I think Sajazi can go and play third. I'm not saying he doesn't play third this year, but like if you give me a 3-year window, I think he's a guy that they get over at second base. But I don't really care. Like JJ Weatherholt is going to just rock. I love this guy. I've said this countless times that like I see Corbin Carroll in him. He's actually maybe a little bit thicker, but like the swing, you can see it right there in what you're showing if people are watching on the YouTube. Like I think you could see this in his approach. He's got a similar approach and where he can get across his body, but the bat speed also allows him to just barrel. I mean, that's a perfect example too of just how he barreled that up, gets the ball in the air. The guy can run. I think he just does a bit of everything. Now that's a lofty comp, and obviously it's like a different position, but a high batting average, good homers, steals. He literally does everything. Like I think this is a rookie of the year candidate. Great for you, Sal Stewart. But like if JJ Weatherholt plays the whole year, I think it's going to go 2020. So I think a lot of the hype that we put on like a Jackson Holiday is someone I think that JJ Weatherholt can meet. So that like I'm very, very high on him, and he might not be a second baseman this year, or like I said, I think he'd be a naturally great. I think the pairing of Weatherholt and Wynn would just be sick. But defensively, like we're going to talk with the number one guy, there's multiple shortstops that are working at third base, just because defensively, he might just be a better option. But JJ Weatherholt, he is the truth. I know you obviously love him. Slam dunk. Top 3 or 4 overall prospect in baseball.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're watching, you can see who number 1 is, Kevin McGonigal. But before we get there, I just wanted to show this off for JJ Weatherholt. Check this out. You never see EVs like continuously go up like this. Like when you look at an EV distribution chart, it's just up, 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 up. Like you very rarely see that. Most EV charts are going to be like very heavy here, and it's going to go up and down like a triangle. You usually don't see that. So Weatherholt like hits the ball way harder than people might think. Like when you see him live, because that's part
of my Corbin Carroll thing. I remember years and years and years ago, I had it was with Scott White. We were debating. He didn't believe in Corbin Carroll's power potential, and I was like, trust me, like he's putting up like 113s in the minors. Don't worry about it. The body type is maybe telling you something different, but trust me, like this is real. His level of contact, the max and average EVs are impressive. That's a lot of like what I'm getting at when I look at Weatherholt. I'm like, it checks all of those same boxes. There's so many of those Carroll boxes that I feel like are checked. Again, little different style, and some of it is driven by like I just look at the approach and I see like a very similar approach. But yeah, JJ Weatherholt is. I think the top 4 prospects in baseball right now, I would assume we're probably the same 4, are just. It's as good as it's been in a long time. And I think we've had a couple years where we're like, is it this heavy and and it's just like there are 4 guys from maybe different levels, and you could obviously tier off like, Connor Griffin's his own maybe universe, but like the
Yeah.
top 4 guys should probably be the same for everybody in some capacity, and it's a really good spot to be in, and JJ belongs in it. So I think there could be maybe some that don't let JJ be in that top group, and they might be like, well, it's a big 3. I think it's a big 4 with Weatherholt.
Yeah, agreed. Kevin McGonigal here, number 2 prospect for most people. I actually did see, I think Fangraphs had Made number 2 and then McGonigal 3.
Yeah.
Can't fault that. Made's pretty good also. So Kevin McGonigal, here we go. Crazy power uptick this season. Like small sample size, but like I think you and I talked about it maybe like a year ago, or it was something like that. And I remember I was like, I like McGonigal's hit tool, but I don't know if the power is in there. And then I think you were telling me, you're like, I've seen it, like it's there. And I was just like, because I didn't have, I didn't have any exit velocity data on it. Like it was hard to see in the numbers, but I think you had seen him at that point live, if I'm not mistaken. That was you and me, maybe like a year ago. And you were telling me, no, the power is going to be good. Just wait. And then boom, here it was this year. Like,
I think I definitely
he's
told you that, but I definitely didn't see him live until in person until the Arizona Fall League, which
until later. Yeah.
displayed that to a big degree.
Yeah. Look, 19 bombs and 392 plate appearances this year is insane for a middle infielder. I guess like the interesting thing I'm thinking about for this year is like they have a gap, and I had Ponce on my podcast too, telling me he gave me he thinks McGonigal has a very good shot at breaking camp, and he told me to like more or less bank the over under on 450 plate appearances for him for this year. So for redraft purposes, just something to think about. But with McGonigal, I'm like, okay, if he comes up this year, is he going to be the shortstop? And then they move him to second later when Bryce Rayner is ready? Or like, how is this whole scenario playing out for them? Because I feel like they do think about things ahead. Like they moved Colt Keith earlier than you might have thought. I don't know, like none of their third basemen have really worked out at third. So it's like, could he even like move to third? Like probably not. Like I guess I see him at second base long term. Like we're talking about position eligibility, so it's like, does it really matter for a guy that's going to be like the best hitter on your team? Maybe not. But I think at second base it probably does, just because second base kind of sucks for fantasy. So
well, he played like not exclusively, but he played a majority at third base in the Arizona Fall League. That's what and they said it so much so. Him and Max Anderson were there. Max ended up kind of DHing, so I think he ended up getting hurt. But McGonigal played some shortstop, but he played almost primarily third base out here. And I think they had said that was one of the reasons that he was sent out, because they also want to create that flexibility so they could get him on the roster sooner. He was the MVP of the Arizona Fall League. He was so impressed. Super slow first week, and then he went on a freaking tear out here. And I don't want to be dismissive of obviously what he did in season, but my looks extensively were in person, where outside of the MVP, he had a 500 OBP. He had a 362 batting average when he was out here. Woba was over 500, which was ridiculous. Good bat speed. He had 109 max EV. He didn't strike out. He had a 13% K percentage to a 21% walk rate out here, which was just stupid. And an almost 16% barrel percentage, is all according to Prospect Savant out here in the Fall League. And like, he was just one of the best players I've seen in person. And I had a lot of doubts coming in because also there was a time where I was like, I'm going to get to see Aiden Miller and Walcott, and there's a lot of competition. And he was just no doubt the best player in the Arizona Fall League. Drove counts, didn't get messed with, didn't strike out really after the first week. Tremendous loud power, big doubles. There's actually the interview I did, I'm forgetting my guy for Prospect Savant. When I interviewed him live at Camelback Ranch, I think that was Kevin McGonigal hit a homer live during the interview. And I was like, like that, but like, it was doubles. He does everything. He does absolutely everything. I personally think he's a future second baseman. I think he's built like that. I think Max Anderson, who I thought, I'm just going to throw this out here, Max Anderson, I'm not sure where you consider him. He was one of the most underrated players in the Arizona Fall League. I think he was one of the best players in the Fall League. absolutely advanced approach at the plate, never got fooled. He's a middle of the order type of guy. I think maybe he could play third in the future, and Kevin McGonigal can play second base. I'm not Rayner, I think, is a decent ways away, but yeah, McGonigal's he's absolutely elite. And I think the Arizona, and I kind of agree with what Jeff's saying. I think the idea of the Arizona Fall League was get this guy extra bats, get him some position flexibility, and how he answered that was becoming the most valuable player in the league. He was coached by one of his own coaches, Rene Rivera. His peers were out there. There was a rumor he was going to leave in the Arizona. He didn't. He stayed the entire time, won the MVP. He was hands down, even though I love Esmeralda Valdez, he was the best player out here, and he played really good defensively. So the Tigers ended last year by saying, we got to get some players that don't just strike out. And like they were alluding to, we love having Torkelson, we love having Riley Green. We have to have players that complement them. We can't have all the same players. And then what do? They go put out high OBP, high batting average guys in the Arizona Fall League that are close to the majors in Max and Kevin McGonigal. And I think they're telling us that those guys are going to give an opportunity soon. And it will clearly be McGonigal because he can go out and play 3 infield positions. He has got a 25 plus home run bat. He can steal 25 plus and he can hit for average. Like, we get excited about the top guys, but like 5 tools, like McGonigal is true 5 tools. Now, I do think there's a potential maybe the power could dip a little bit. Maybe he makes way for it, but he's going to be fantasy relevant and he'll probably get some significant time this year, if not breaking camp.
Yeah. Funny enough, that Kevin McGonigal and JJ Weatherholt are both top 3 in my second base dynasty rankings. So like, that's how, I guess, how starved the second base position has been for a while, and like how good this like upcoming crop of potential second base are. Now, like whether those guys stick there is a question, but I think both those guys and Bazana and Sal Stewart, we've got a fun little bunch here at the top of second base to make it a pretty interesting position, actually, for the first time in a while.
Also, like, you know, there's, if we want a fan cast here, one of the Milwaukee guys is going to go to second, and that is probably Pena. So if you want to play that game in here too, because I think we're fan casting a little bit here by putting McGonigal at second and putting Weatherholt at second here. I would say you should fan cast Luis Pena here, because that's I think where he primarily has been playing versus Made. And if we put Luis Pena in here, you know, I have him over Bazana, you know, so that's my number 3. That would be my number 3 on these guys. So we're 10 deep. We're 10, like, I mean, I think we're 5 elite deep, maybe 6, but like we're 10 and I'm feeling fantastic. The second base has a lot of good potential in fantasy for the future, but that's also why almost every single one of these guys was a shortstop. And that's why I always trip out about it. Like when we do first year players, people are like, you comfortable just taking a bunch of shortstops? Yes. Because they move. Teams draft shortstop. They'll draft 5 of them if they have to, because they're the most athletic players that can move to third. They can move to second. They can go to center field. Like, bet on shortstop. Stop worrying about position eligibility when you're drafting prospect teams. You know, you're drafting prospects in your system. Well, don't you want to? No, I don't. I want the best players. I don't care if they're all the same position. They'll move around, and shortstop has potential to give us some elite second baseman in fantasy in the near future.
Yeah, Luis Pena, I have at number 11 overall. And another one real quick, Caleb Bonner. Caleb Bonner could move to second if, you know, assuming that the White Sox draft Rock Chalowski, and then they're like, okay, Colson Montgomery moves to third, then Bonner maybe at second. So there's another.
They got some problems though. Billy Carlson is like an absolutely elite defender. He's literally built for defense. So they're putting themselves in they're the team. They're like, oh, shouldn't you not draft? Nope. They're just drafting all shortstops. Just draft them all and they'll figure it out later. Trade it for assets, move them around. They're putting themselves in a fantastic situation. Really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, there's second base. Welsh, what else you got going on? You got anything else you want to pump real quick here before the end of the pod?
Yeah, I mean, as you said before, I'm on Fantasy Pros. I got the Fantasy Pros podcast. Prospect One is my prospect show. In this league is my fantasy redraft show. We do baseball and football. So I got a ton of podcasts you can check out. Follow me on Twitter. Is it the Welsh? I'm out at camps every single day seeing prospects. Actually, we just did a baseball show and I gave notes on Murakami. I talked to one of the White Sox pitchers who had some really interesting things about Murakami. Speaking of second base, Christian Walker was working third base for the Angels and then got private instruction with Kurt Suzuki playing second. So I'm just trying to get all the camp stuff. And obviously I'm out here with a lot of prospects. So if you're into that stuff, you can also check out my Patreon, inthisleague.com. Just support what I do. I got my prospect 500 and my dynasty 400 if you want to check it out. But that's it, man.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe. I can't imagine anyone not, listening to this is not subscribed or not following you, but definitely subscribe to your Patreon because Welsh is one of the best in the biz, and he does a lot of stuff that a lot of other people don't. Like he's on the ground, like you're in the trenches, like you're like World War I in the trenches with this.
Oh, I'm like, dude, I'm listening. I like sit there and I'll like stand next to coaches and just like listen to things that they're saying and talk. And I'm not recording them or anything like that. But I mean, I also get into the weeds because I get into like maybe things people aren't interested in. But I love the intangibles of prospects, and I'm definitely out there just finding every little nugget, recording. I literally have it on my phone, or I can't use my phone. It's my camera right now. But I was recording Suzuki talking and just watching Christian Walker do second base, and I'll do something with it. But I love it, dude. It's that I love this game, and I appreciate you thinking of me and having me on.
Yeah, I got in trouble with Nolan Gorman from doing that. He caught me listening in on him last spring, and he gave me a look. And he was next to Alec Burleson, and they were talking with their iPad out, and I was like, oh, I want to see what that looks like over there, trying to kind of like.
And you were like looking, you were leaning in.
Yeah, I was like, I want to see what they're looking at, and like he looked back at me, and he like slammed the iPad shut.
Oh,
and like,
Gorman hates you now.
With Burley, they like looked at me, and I'm like, look, man, I had a Cardinal shirt on. I was like, look, I'm a Cardinal. I'm not a spy. I'm not like a Cubs spy or something here.
I've definitely had that happen. I one time was filming on the Padres, and they were just like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, just filming the workout." Like they get weird. But I actually have a video. It's funny of the Angels when they're doing their workout, and the whoever the instructor, whatever coach it was, the physical coach, they're talking, and then he's like, all right, guys, he's like, do this good, we're on camera, so it's like some guys have fun with us, some guys are not about anything, and maybe don't lean into the iPad.
Yeah, I know. I need like wear disguise, or like get like one of those ear things, right? Like the ear horn. Is not sneaky?
Probably not super sneaky anymore.
Yeah. All right. So make sure you follow Welsh, subscribe to his Patreon, and subscribe to MLB Data Warehouse so you can get all the F scores live in season. And buy my prospect package if you need some draft help. I got draft cheat sheets. They're all heat mapped with F scores and all that great stuff. Prospect rankings, all that fun stuff. So only $29 for that. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Peace out, y'all.